Hi, this is Paul from After School Psychology. Today we'll talk about 10 psychology facts that will blow your mind. Let's begin. The bystander effect. In 2000, a group of young men attacked 60 women in a parade in Central Park, New York City. Thousands of people watched, but no one called the police. This is the bystander effect. The more people witness someone in need of help, the less likely someone would take action. Everyone thinks someone else would do something until no one does. The same case happens when there is a possible danger. In 1970, psychologists Bibb Latané and John Larney had people answer a questionnaire in a room. After 20 minutes, a smoke would come out from the wall vent. When alone, the person freaks out in 20 seconds, leaves the room to inform the researchers of the billowing smoke. What's interesting is, when people are in a group, they would wait until they're blinded by the smoke. What happens is each person doesn't want others to think he's a fool, so he checks if the others are freaked out. But the thing is, the person next to him thinks the same. Even more, a third person watches them and assumes there's nothing wrong he should be worried about, and so he's even less likely to freak out. This is why when it seems there's something wrong, you should trust your instinct and exit the room right away. And why you should be the first one to offer a helping hand, because if you don't, no one else will. You can trick your brain into thinking time is going slowly. Ever wonder why time seems to go faster as we age? Apparently it has something to do with how our brains process information. When we receive new information, our brain processes it more slowly, so time feels elongated. This explains why time seems to go faster as we grow older. When we were kids, everything was new. Summers seemed to go longer. The more familiar the world becomes, the less the brain writes new information, so time slips off more quickly. Conversely, if you take in new information, like learning a skill, reading a new book, or going to new places, you can make time go slowly. Brand loyalty. Mac versus PC, iPhone versus Android. We've all seen it across the internet. Whatever your preference is, it's not because you've rationalized over them, but rather, it's because you've rationalized your past choices to protect your sense of self. In an experiment in Baylor University, the researchers hooked up participants in brain scanners. They were given unmarked cups of Coke and Pepsi, and then they were asked to choose which one tastes better. Some participants, who preferred Coke all their lives, stayed with their choice, even when the brain scanner shows they like Pepsi more. They lied because sometime in the past, they became loyal to Coke. Their memories had to match their emotions. Take this on a bigger scale, like non-essential expensive products like smartphones. For example, an Apple product. Apple doesn't advertise its technicalities, but rather they show you types of people who would purchase them. And if you see yourself as someone who has taste and talent, a sort of person who would own one, then you've been branded. The question is, are there other products better than Apple? It doesn't matter. Those considerations come after you've seen yourself as someone who would own a MacBook. And when people argue, they're not defending the product per se, but rather their own choices, which is tied to their self-image. Creativity activates when you're tired. Do you wonder why big business ideas happen when you're in a shower after a long day from school or work? This happens because our brains are less efficient when we're tired. During the day when you're wide awake, our brain processes information faster. It crunches data efficiently, filtering unnecessary information to do tasks quickly. But after a long day, it becomes tired. And because it has become inefficient, it's open to all kinds of information. This is where your creative brain activates, because you're thinking outside the box. Your brain becomes able to invite all kinds of things, the mundane, the useful, to form an ingenious idea. Groupthink. We think problems are solved when people gather, but the truth is it likely hinders progress. The problem is each person thinks it should conform to the decision of the group. This commonly happens during a brainstorming, where the boss is present and people are familiar with each other. Each one feels he shouldn't destroy the group's harmony, so each becomes agreeable. If not, others might get mad at him, causing him to lose friends and his job. The boss, assuming everyone agrees because no one speaks out his mind, makes a decision that usually turns out to be a fiasco. For groupthink to happen, it needs three major ingredients: people who like each other, isolation, and a deadline. According to psychologists, for any plan to work, the following guidelines should be followed. The boss shouldn't express his opinion, because his could become the opinion of others. The group should break into pairs regularly to discuss the issue to develop a level of dissent. Once in a while, an outsider should be invited to give his opinion. And finally, a group needs an asshole, someone who isn't afraid of getting fired. His mission: to find faults in every plan. The pratfall effect. In 1966, psychologist Elliot Ronson tested a theory: we tend to like people who make mistakes more. He had participants listen to recordings of people who are taking a quiz. The aim of the test was to see if recordings of someone spilling over a cup of coffee makes that person more likable. Turns out it's true. Mistakes makes us more human. People feel closer to you when they can relate to your occasional mishaps. When people don't make mistakes, they create distance and an unattractive air of invincibility. So don't be afraid to look like a fool sometimes, because it can work in your favor. The straw man fallacy. When people you're arguing with are losing, they may try to be deceptive to prove their side. One perfect example, which I've heard personally, is one politician starts to accuse a human rights defender of perpetuating crimes. The former believes criminals should be shot on sight, but the latter believes in the rule of law. The politician then accuses the other of protecting criminals. Now the other is then forced to lay out human rights records to prove the other wrong, although it wasn't what he was suggesting in the first place. Straw man fallacy is when one uses your argument to create an artificial one, which is a straw man, then attacks it because it's easy to. Procrastination. You're all familiar with this situation: rearranging your computer desktop instead of actually doing a report, starting a diet plan, but eventually going back to eating garbage. Procrastination isn't just about being lazy. It's when you overestimate your future self. When you write your New Year's resolution, you're full of motivation. But what you don't realize is the future you is different from who you are in the now. At the present, you're all pumped up. But how about the person down the road when he or she is offered a chocolate cake? This is what present bias is. It's not knowing that what you want now is not something that you would want later. This is why you will write down the same New Year's resolution for the 10th time. Why your watch later list is full of great films and documentaries, but you keep passing them for Family Guy. And this is why at the moment, you prefer to have an immaculate desktop than not cramming when the deadline is near. When you are making plans, your ideal self is the one who is actually writing it. And at the moment, you go for what's easy. The key to beating procrastination is outmaneuvering it. It's knowing that want will never disappear, but you can force yourself how to manage it. If you want to eat healthy, subscribe to meal plans. Even when your future you starts to hate it, you won't have the choice but to eat it. Or if you want to get fit, get a fitness coach who will look after your progress. You're hardwired to love music you listened to as a teenager. Listening to your favorite music shoots up your dopamine, the feel-good chemicals in your brain. Now this is stronger when your brain is just developing from the age of 12 to 22. According to psychologist Peter Janata, the music we listen to in our formative years becomes associated with emotional memories. These are the times when you becomes you. And it's only fitting to say that your memories that are formed during this time is what mostly contributes for the rest of your life. The music itself becomes etched in your mind. This is why you hear old people sing Beatles in karaoke nights, because these songs trigger emotions during the best years of their lives. You're more likely to join a cult than you realize. If you think you're too smart to join a cult, you're dead wrong. Turns out people who join a cult are regular people just like you. From afar, many groups seem like cults. It's hard to determine what is and what is not, as the line between the two is blurry. The point is, it's easy to fall into a cult, because it's the same process when you found your social group. I mean, before you became friends with your social group, you didn't really rationalize why you wanted to be part of them. Like any primate beings, people like belongingness. They want to be part of a pack with same-minded people. We assume people join a cult because they want to fulfill an emotional void that a charismatic leader like L. Ron Hubbard or Charles Manson could give. But people fall into cults because of their ideas. These leaders seem to have figured everything in life, and so other people want to follow it too. You might still think you're too smart for that, but many people as well flock around great leaders like Gandhi, Socrates, Jobs, or even Elon Musk. We idealize ourselves around an idea, and if we found a charismatic figure whose ideas magnify ours, and it turns out many people follow that person as well, we tend to fall into that group. According to psychologist David Myers, a cult can form spontaneously. It starts when people form around a charismatic person, who then becomes an authority figure. He then uses his followers to spearhead his agenda. If he lacks human power, he then starts to recruit more people. He often masks his true agenda as not to scare away potential recruits. Now, some cult leaders are conscious of the whole scheme, while others are not, until they realized what they've done. In the end, history will decide where they are in the moral spectrum. Are they like Jim Jones, who had convinced his followers to kill themselves? Or a Mohandas Gandhi, who has convinced his followers to follow him on a 241-mile journey by foot to protest against salt taxes? Much of what's featured here is from the book You're Not So Smart by David Mcraney. You can find the link on the description. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more amazing content. I'll see you next time.